Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. We continue reading from Imam Al-Ghazali's Kitab Sharh Ajaib al-Qalb, The Marvels of the Heart. This is book 21 of Ihya Ulumuddin, the revival of the religious sciences, the Islamic sciences, translated by Walter James Kelly. We have reached chapter 12, a detailed exposition of the ways by which Satan enters the heart. This is page 91. This is بيان تفصيل مداخل الشيطان إلى القلب. Imam Ghazali said, know that the heart is like a fortress, and Satan is an enemy who wishes to enter the fortress, to take possession of it, and to rule over it. The fortress cannot be kept secure from the enemy except by guarding its doors and entrances, and the breaches in its walls. First of all, the end of the previous chapter was a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. The rendering in English, he who hovers about a forbidden thing is in danger of falling into it, which is true, and this hadith muttafaq alayh, narrated by Bukhari Muslim, as the very last thing, the very last sentence in the previous chapter. What is translated here as a forbidden thing, من حام حول الحمى. الحمى, it's an area that is protected. It's not yours. That's the original meaning. And in fact, the narrative sometimes is كالراعي يرعى حول الحمى يوشك أن يقع فيه. So if a shepherd takes his sheep, for example, and allows the sheep to graze literally on the edge of the land of someone else, privately owned property. The sheep, you would know, the human being, you know where to draw the line, not the sheep. So if they are literally on the edge, very close, they might simply fall into it. But the word hima, it did cause wars during the days of ignorance, pre-Islamic period. You cannot and you should not really breach the hima, no walls even. Here in our case, we talk about a fortress and walls and gates, and so the hima is sometimes defined as far as the sound of a dog's bark reaches. That belongs to the tribe. You cannot really breach the hima. Now, another aspect, in English it says, and the breaches in its walls. You need to protect that. All the weak points, وَمَضَى ثَلَمَ, all the weak points in the fortress. He who does not know its doors cannot guard them. The protection of the heart from the evil prompting of Satan is a prescribed duty and an individual obligation upon every morally responsible creature, عبد مكلف. That which is indispensably connected with fulfilling duty is itself also obligatory. The warding off of Satan cannot be achieved save by a knowledge of his ways of entering, and so the knowledge of his entrances becomes an obligation. The entrances of Satan, uh, the people ask about good, some people ask about the bad, for fear of falling into it, evil. The entrances of Satan and his doors are the qualities, sifat, of the servant, and they are many. But we shall refer to the great doors, which are like the large street gates, which are not too narrow for the many troops of Satan. فَضَيِّقُوا مَجَارِيهِ. This is the background for this. فَضَيِّقُوا مَجَارِيهِ. This is not the Arabic text. مجرى الدروب التي لا تضيق عن كثرة جنود الشيطان. التي لا تضيق. So if it's not narrow, you need to narrow them. Then, for example, food and fasting works is one way of, because Satan يجري من ابن آدم مجرى الدم. Satan, as if Satan basically travels through the veins of the human being. This means the proximity, really. Proximity. Very close. I think to bring it closer to understanding, we can talk about the human being being in need of an antivirus, a firewall. Otherwise, Satan would, if there's a breach in your firewall, this your fortress, then Satan can download his program. What's the whispering of Satan? One of his great gates is anger and impotence. Anger is the ogre of the intellect. If the troops of the intellect grow weak, the troops of Satan attack. And whenever man becomes angry, Satan plays with him, just as a child plays with a ball. And this has been repeated elsewhere. Like a toy. Can direct you in any direction. It is related that Iblis, Satan, found Musa alayhi salam, Prophet Moses, and said, "O Musa, you are he whom God chose to bring his message, and to whom he spoke directly. And I am one of the creatures of God. I have sinned and desire to repent. So intercede with my Lord on my behalf, that he may forgive me." So God chose you for his message as a prophet. Stafak, whom he spoke directly, to whom he spoke directly. وَكَلَّمَكَ تَكْلِيمًا. Think about the prophets, the messengers of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who have higher status. Think about the verse, تِلْكَ الرُّسُلُ فَضَّلْنَا بَعْضَهُمْ عَلَى بَعْضٍ. These were the messengers, we have preferred some above others. We favored some. منهم من كلم الله. This is really موسى عليه السلام. منهم من كلم الله ورفع بعضهم درجات وآتينا عيسى ابن مريم البينات وأيدناه بروح القدس. It's a very beautiful verse indeed. We do not distinguish, we do not classify, we do not rank. But if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does, that's really that belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Though we do believe that Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is the ranks highest amongst the messengers and prophets. So Satan asked Sayyidina Musa ﷺ to intercede on his behalf. What was the response of Sayyidina Musa ﷺ? He said, very well. So Musa went up into the mountain and spoke with his Lord Azza wa Jal, and wanted to descend. When his Lord said to him, be faithful in that which was entrusted to you. Musa said, O Lord, your servant Iblis desires that you forgive him. Then God revealed to Musa, O Musa, you have fulfilled your duty. Order him to prostrate himself before the grave of Adam, in order that he may be forgiven. This is because that's the very first story in the Quran, really, in Surah Al-Baqarah, verses approximately 30 to 35. وَإِذْ قُلْنَا الْمَلَائِكَةِ اسْجُدُوا لِآدَمَ فَسَجَدُوا إِلَّا إِبْلِيسَ أَبَى. This is really the background for this particular story, why he was asked to tell Iblis to prostrate before the grave of Adam, because of that original divine commandment he rejected. Then Musa met Iblis and said to him, I have fulfilled your request. You are recommended to prostrate yourself before the grave of Adam in order to be forgiven. But he became angry and proud and said, I would not prostrate myself to him. When I would not, like I did not. I would not prostrate myself to him, to Adam alayhi salam, when he was alive. And I shall do it now that he is dead. Then he, Satan, said, O Musa, you have made me indebted to you in that you have interceded with your Lord on my behalf. So remember me on these 3 occasions, and I shall not destroy you. Remember me when you are angry, for then my spirit is in your heart, and my eye in yours, and I am coursing through you. يجري من ابن آدم مجرى الدم. And I'm coursing through you, even the circulation of your blood. Remember me when you are angry, for when a man is angry, I breathe into his nose, and he does not know what he is doing. Remember me when you encounter the army of the enemy, for I come to a man who meets the army of the enemy and remind him of his wife, his children, and his people, so that he will turn back. See to it that you do not sit by a woman who is unrelated to you. For I am her messenger to you and yours to her. I keep on until I cause you to be enamored of her and her of you. In the number 3, don't sit by a woman who is unrelated to you. It's not that it is unrelated to you. That's not the وإياك أن تجلس إلى امرأة ليس بذات محرم. So for example, your mother is that mahram, and that's not the intention here. Your maternal and paternal aunts, your grandmother, your great grandmother, your daughter, your great granddaughter, and also in typically you will not have you will not be in the company of your great grandmother, your sisters, your nieces. That's not the intention. Let me simplify it by saying a woman whom you might one day get married to, even if you think it's impossible. Say, for example, a woman who so from a Sharia point of view, from Islamic legal point of view, uh, you can marry her if she get divorced or she becomes a widow. So don't say, well, she's married and that I have no intention. No, she's. If you could marry her, your cousin, we don't encourage this, but you could still marry her. A woman older than you, that's not a cause to feel safe and say that I can handle it. And no, that's not the case. Um, this is why the companies and offices and institutions that have cubicles open, like these cubicles are, uh, they allow the employees to do their jobs without interference from their colleagues on the other side of the partition, but they are not high enough to cover or allow any intermingling between the sexes. Okay, and it does not provide privacy, that kind of privacy. And this is why, if you talk about, let's say, university professors, there's no need for you to close the door behind a student, of the opposite sex when she comes to your office for consultation. Uh, Maybe she was absent and she wants to catch up, or maybe she wants to, whatever is the case. There's no need. Any other employees is the same. There's no need to close the door behind. It should be straightforward. There's no need for you to. It should be very professional, very professional. You are vulnerable. She is vulnerable. Even if you are both by yourself, don't really. So it's not enough to say a woman that she's so closely related to a man. That's if you could marry her, that's really if there's a potential, even no matter how remote. And you might say, well, this woman is absolutely not my type. She is not beautiful or whatever. Don't. Satan will beautify her in your eye ultimately. Seriously. Subhanallah. Imam Ghazali comments on this. By this he referred to appetence and anger and greed. Fleeing from the army is greed for this present world. His cowardice too. His refusal to prostrate. There's a direct relationship between generosity and courage on the one hand, and miserliness, being cheap, and cowardice. Fleeing from the army's greed for this present world, his refusal to prostrate himself to Adam after he was dead was envy, which is the greatest of his entrances. It is related that one of the saints said to Iblis, "Show me how you overcome a son of Adam." Really, the Arabic text, yes, تغلب. It confirms what has been mentioned before. He replied, "I take him while in anger or desire." In anger or desire. The story is told that Iblis appeared to an ascetic. Really, it's a rahib. Typically, a rahib is monk. Who asked him, "What characteristics of the sons of Adam are most helpful to you?" He answered, "Hastiness of temper. For if a man is sharp-tempered, we can turn him upside down even as youths toss a ball." There is a reputed saying of Satan like this: "How can the son of Adam overcome me? For if he is content, I come so that I may be in his heart. And if he gets angry, I fly so that I may be in his head." Among the great doors of his entrance is that of envy, hasad. And greed, hirs. For whenever a man is greedy for anything, his greed makes him blind and deaf. As the Prophet ﷺ said, "Your love for the thing blinds and deafens." This hadith, حبك للشيء يعمي ويصم, was narrated by Abu Dawood, and it has a weak chain of narrators. But it's true. The meaning is true that love of a thing, being attached, it blinds one. It blinds one from doing the right thing. It could be a thing, it could be a human being. It follows. This is followed by a story of Nuh alayhi salam. But we will leave this. We will leave this, inshallah, into the next session. And we'll catch up. We'll try to shed more light on how the love of a thing, love of people, blinds and makes one do the wrong thing and really cross the red lines to one's detriment. And sometimes people cannot understand to what level really they could, or what level they could reach in because of the love of things, fetishism, love of this world, all of these things. So until the next session, inshallah, until next time, سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.